In this yoga practice, I'm going to be talking about addiction and shame and self-hatred and how we can overcome those things. So that's a very important understanding, is that we can overcome that. We aren't just going to manage our life better while that stuff is bubbling underneath the surface. It's also an important teaching in yoga that we aren't really creating a new self. We aren't going to create a new indwelling whole sense of ourselves. That is already within us. It's just blocked by our forgetting and by our painful behaviors causing more pain. And by the way, the painful behaviors that are causing more pain were actually intended to be solutions for pain. So I'm going to talk about that as well in this video, that we didn't just come up with painful behaviors to cause ourselves suffering. These were originally solutions for pain. So as we go into the class, don't forget, if you've got questions or comments, leave them down below in the video. This is an intermediate practice, but you can start slowly as a beginner and just go to the level that you can go, and then take Shavasana whenever you need to. And I look forward to seeing your questions and comments. Please do subscribe to the channel. That will be helpful to me, and we'll know what you want to have us offer you more and more with the content on the channel. So, okay, see you in class. So welcome for this practice. I'm going to be discussing something with you at the start of this practice that I hope will help us all to understand a very common human susceptibility, which is the experiences of anxiety turning into things like addiction, compulsivity, self-criticism, and then all the way down this rabbit hole into self-hatred and shame. First, I'd like to note that the experience of addiction is a complex set of behaviors, a cyclical, repetitive experience of behaviors that are actually trying to solve for pain. And therefore, I don't think that our society should be criminalizing addiction nor stigmatizing it. Addiction is an effort to solve for pain. And often the pain that it's trying to solve for is a pain that happened at a period in our lives where we didn't have enough resource, support, guidance, or help. And so the pain ended up staying with us, and we found solutions within our capacity at the time to navigate that pain. Those solutions then can go along with us in our different life stages and become full-on addictive tendencies. So yoga is a wonderful practice to help with addiction recovery, and it can be, for the whole brain and body, very helpful, as well as once we get through what we call the tapas phase of yoga, that is the sadhana, daily practice, the dinacharya, the daily life schedule, the daily routine that nourishes your brain, mind, and body. Once we get through a period of that self-discipline or self-nourishment and we're more stable, yoga can be very helpful for looking into the root causes of addiction. And that phase of yoga is called svadhyaya. It's the phase of self-inquiry and self-reflection. And we recommend looking at the root causes of painful behaviors once you have enough stability in your system to do that. Because often if we're trying to look at what's wrong with me, which is a thing people frequently say when they can't overcome an addiction, they say, what's wrong with me? How come I can't kick this behavior? If we're looking from a place of what's wrong with me and it's critical, it's a fiery voice, it's a voice based on self-criticism or self-hatred, we're going to be looking with an attitude that blinds us to truly seeing. So we recommend this looking period, or this reflective period, svadhyaya, is done from a place where there's enough stability that we can access and even, shall I say, tolerate a compassionate perspective towards ourselves. And the reason I say tolerate a compassionate perspective is that many, many times people have told me that they don't deserve compassion because they're causing this behavior again and again, right? So they're not deserving of a compassionate approach because they are the ones taking the next drink or indulging in the next behavior. And what is happening there, from my perspective, is the addiction is telling the person a story that deepens the self-hatred and the self-criticism. And it reinforces a perspective in our culture that says, if you just had enough willpower, you would succeed on that diet, you would succeed financially, you would pull your life together, and you would also overcome this addiction. It's a matter of willpower. In other classes and in other Dharma talks, I've talked about the myth of willpower, and from yoga's perspective, the important role of willingness, discernment, and appropriate surrender. In this case, surrender of the painful perspective you have on yourself so that you can lessen that burden and look more compassionately again. So other links will be provided in the description below this video, and you can check out the other discussions too. But it isn't really a matter of willpower, according to yoga. Our recovery from addiction is going to have a lot more to do with, are we stable enough? Do we then have enough discernment? Do we have enough well-being that we can look clearly at the root causes and then not just be behavior-free or symptom-free, but become truly free? And that stage of recovery is called Ishvadi Pranidhana. It means the surrender, finally, of the painful narrative and the behaviors and the symptoms, and ultimately releasing the perspective that there was something deeply wrong with us and that we caused the pain that we were suffering from so greatly. It's a liberating perspective to come to the Ishvadi Pranidhana. We surrender the narrative we've had about ourselves as a person of unworthiness, or that imperfections somehow condemn us to a feeling of like brokenness or lack of worthiness, again, I'll say. So the journey is one really of starting with, how do we stabilize enough to look then compassionately and clearly, and how do we then move to this place of surrender and ultimately freedom? Okay, so all of that said, I'd like this class to be one where we're able to stabilize enough to overcome the temptation for certain behaviors. And those are your behaviors. So I'm not saying this only works for some behaviors and not for others. I'm saying certain behaviors because I don't know which ones you're wanting to overcome. So maybe it's gaming or scrolling or alcohol or food or excessive sleeping or shopping, addiction, whatever it might be. We have to be able to stabilize the brain and body enough that we're not searching for that immediate gratification, the moments of numbing, the moments of escaping the pain that we're in that we don't know what to do with. We need something that stabilizes us away from those behaviors so we can strengthen our inner experience and realize, okay, I am more than my behaviors. I am more than those thoughts and feelings. I am also strength and courage and perseverance and grace and compassion and generosity and all the things. Okay, that being said, let's take a little time for meditation. I guess my meditative companion is ready. You're hiding? Okay, let's take a seat, please. You can rest your hands in your lap. And as you have heard my words, let yourself come in to your own loving heart. To that place in you that has experienced some ounce of kindness and is likely often more kind to others than you are to yourself. Let's come into that essential place of kindness, your ability to have an inner loving attitude towards yourself. And as you're dropping in, if you feel that place of the inner loving attitude is very faint or small, I'm going to ask you to imagine it, even if it's like a pinhole of light in a dark mood or a dark day, imagine it there and begin to breathe into it, wherever you locate it in your body. Breathe into it with the intention of connecting there. And as you breathe into it, imagine that like pinhole of light, if that's all you have, or that little faint glimmer of love. Imagine it going deeper in your body, like having a deeper root. not being superficial nor fleeting, but deeper and more abiding. And then imagine this faintness starting to glow a little bit more, or this pinhole getting a little bit larger. So first it goes deeper, and let it get brighter and larger. So it's going to take up more space inside. It's going to expand in its dimensionality. And if you breathe into it, imagine the depth, brightness, and expansion. As you breathe out, soften any resistance to your being worthy of this inner love. Relax that notion to the best of your ability. And now imagine the breath moving up and down the length of the spine. And as the breath rises up through the spine, it brightens that area wherever that's been in your body. If that's been at the heart, it will brighten that area at the latitude of the heart. If it's in the belly, it brightens that area there. Wherever it happens to be on the inhale, move up the longitude of the spine, but brighten the latitude of that experience of kindness or love. On the exhale, tone the lower belly from the pubic bone inward and upward, and think of that as a gesture of commitment to your own stability, an internal sense of stability. Not a hardening, not a toughening, not tensing, but stabilizing. To check in with that stability, take your arms out to the side, turn your palms out left and right. Inhale, raise both arms slowly with the cycle of the breath. Hook your thumb so your hands are like an arrow. And then exhale, side bend to your left. Draw yourself up to center. Inhale, reach up. Exhale, side bend to your right. Lift up to center during the exhale, pause. And then inhale, lift up, look up. And exhale, press out, bring the arms to a T shape. Inhale, bring your hands to your heart. Om Sahana Vavatu Sahanao Punaktu Saviryam Karava Tejasvinavaditamastu Ma Vidvishavani Om Sahana Vavatu Sahanao Saviryam Karava Tejasvinavaditamastu Ma Vidvishavani Om Sahana Vavatu Sahanao No. Saviryam Karava Tejasvinavaditamastu Ma Vidveshavai Om Shanti 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 Hari Om Shri Guru Pyo Namaha Hari Om. And you may bow your head to your heart. Release your hands. Open your eyes. My yoga practice is being a tiny bit hindered here. Nikula went to the vet yesterday for a checkup. He's 10.8 pounds. So he is, in fact, an ideal weight for a sandbag in yoga. We have 10-pound sandbags in yoga. He is the ideal weight for that process. Okay, so if you know nothing more about yoga, then first of all, its primary teaching is there is already an intrinsic wholeness into which you were born. This ananda, we call it. And our journey in life happens to include forgetfulness, avidya, and then remembering this inner nature, smriti, remembering that there's an inner nature of ananda. So avidya, painful, 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 causing dukkha, 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 pain and suffering. And then smriti, remembering, which brings joy, sukha, or happiness. And then ananda, this blissful experience of becoming that which you already are. So it is not a process of subtracting things so much as it's a process of remembering. We're not trying to create something that isn't already there. We may be having to set aside things. We can call that subtraction. But ultimately, it's not because those things have been, shall I say, burdensome to us in an unhelpful way. Sometimes those things that have come that are painful burdens have required us to remember more deeply. And that remembering then brings us kind of joy. There is a concept in yoga that the maya, the illusion caused in forgetting, has this equivalent amazingness in the joy of remembering. So we are going to take some things away, like misperceptions and unhelpful behaviors and so on. So that subtraction is there, but it's not like we go to nothingness and then there's like this sterile, like wooden life. It's that as you're subtracting those things, there's this amazing thing that you're realizing you already are. This, not according to society, not according to societal standards. It's don't measure it like your resume becomes more amazing, but actually that you recognize this indwelling love and radiance that you already are. So to get there, we need the brain to agree not to chatter away at us. And so we're going to use a process in class today called top-down, bottom-up processing. It means paying attention mindfully, lovingly. Sometimes we're going to use counting or pacing, and then also breathing, moving, sensing, bottom-up processing. So top-down is mindfulness, perspective, pacing, and imagining. And then bottom-up is breathing, moving, sensing. Okay, and that should restore your brain, and therefore this perspective that whatever you had to set aside, whatever those subtractions might be, that was helpful for you to remember this inner sense, but this inner sense has not forgotten you. So you're not making it, you are reuniting with it. Yoga, you're yoking with it, you're remembering, smriti, you're coming back to it. So I just want to be clear about that, because I'm not saying that you're filled with flaws and you have to get rid of them. Some of our quirks might be flaws, but from a loving attitude, you're just like, oh, yeah, I'm doing that thing that prevents me from really clearly seeing my indwelling nature. And I'm doing it again. There I am doing it again. Probably I want to stop doing that because it's more painful to live that way. So as you're sitting, and I think we'll accommodate my co-teacher here for a few moments, take the arms again out to the side, palms facing out. And I'm going to ask you to count the length of the breath for yourself as it is now. So when you're rising up, what is the pace of your inhale? And then exhale, what is the pace of the exhale? And it might be faster than mine, could be slower than mine. Don't sort of, how do you say, try to impersonate the pace of my breath cycle. Don't pressure yourself, but go with what is actually working for you right now. And see if you can even out the inhale and the exhale. So if your inhale is 6 counts, your exhale is going to be 6 counts. Concentrate on balancing the breath and the movements. And as you're counting, you're going to have this kind of little bit of honesty with yourself, keeps you accountable to count. Also gives your mind, your narrative, jumping up and down mind, your pinwheel mind, a place of assignment. It is assigned to count. Okay, one more time, arms out to the side, inhale. Exhale, twist right. Maintain the length of the breath, and as you're twisting, focus on counting the breath. You could imagine you're inhaling up the spine as if you were going one vertebrae at a time, a set of stairs. Maybe your stairs are 6 or 8 or 10, the pace of your breath. On the exhale, we're starting the exhale also in the base of the spine. Your exhale is for stabilizing. So you're going up that same set of stairs. It's up for inhale and also up for exhale, yes. One more breath. You may have noticed during the spine twist that for your inhale to be the same length it was, it has to be stronger. Come back to center. It has to be stronger because the twist is applying a little bit of pressure, right? There's an intentional restriction that you have to breathe through. So give yourself the time to breathe, counting up the sort of inner staircase, if you will. As you're making these efforts, don't make them from criticism, and invite the inner critic actually to lean way back during your yoga practice and to give you the space to count and to explore and to do so with curiosity and affection for yourself for even making the efforts. And inhale, sweep your arms wide, rise up. And exhale. Relax completely and look for any hint of greater strength of mind, clarity of mind, compassion of the heart, any sense of forgiveness to yourself for the dilemmas you may have been mired in, just from a couple minutes of yoga practice. Now place your hands out over your knees. We're going to use cat and cow pose, ironically. So the cow pose is one where we arch the spine to open. And then exhale, curl your spine into cat pose. And again, pacing. So on the inhale, you're climbing up that internal staircase, as it were. On the exhale, Ujjayi exhale, curl in for the same length of movement and breath as was the inhale. Make this movement smooth from the beginning of the spine up to the top. And at the top of an inhale or the bottom of an exhale, also allow there to be the silence of the pause. So in between the movements of the breath and the body, there is silence and stillness. And one more time, exhale to curl down. Same pace for the breath that you've been going. Come up to center, walk your left hand onto your right knee, and then fix the left hand with the right hand, so they're going to be secure. Now, based on your body proportions, you have a slight forward bend to get here. And we're going to do the same thing, cat and cow spine. It's not going to move as much because we have made an intentional restriction. So find movement where you can. And as you explore, allow the challenge to be something that you're exploring without any sense of critiquing your body or your efforts. As you inhale to roll up, climb up that internal staircase of your growing strength. Exhale, curl down and stabilize in the lower belly and the pelvis. One more time. And then lift the spine so you're facing in the direction of your right knee and walk forward out over your right knee. Bring the left fingertips way out in front of you. Yeah, I just smoothly exited my kitty, Nakula. As you come forward, stretch back with your left hip down to your blanket. Breathe in and expand the left hemisphere of your body. On the exhale, twist your lower belly to the right. So you can press into your right hand to add that little twist of the inner belly. On the inhale, reach back into your left hip. Broaden the left side of your waist. As you count your exhale, rotate the inner belly to your right. Let's do that one more time. And then rise up to center, return. Go ahead and switch your feet or change your seat if you need to. And otherwise, if you're ready, then walk across with your right hand to your left knee. Secure your right hand with your left hand. Inhale, raise up, counting the length of the breath. And exhale, curl in and down. As you inhale and you're counting, please know that it's normal and common to forget where you are in the counting. Even if you're only counting to 6, people forget sometimes because the mind is so accustomed to being distracted. So resume your effort any moment it needs to be resumed, and don't criticize yourself for forgetting. Rather, you can enjoy yourself for remembering to count again. One more time, inhale to roll up. And exhale to curl down. Upright, and as you face out over your left knee, walk your right hand forward in that direction. Reach back with your right hip towards the blanket. With your left hand probably somewhere near to your left knee. On the exhale, turn your lower belly to your left. And exhale one more time. And then inhale, rise back up to sitting. And again, pause for a moment to get a little glimpse. Is there any mood shift or motivation shift or inner confidence shift? Any shifts in your ability to believe in your own worthiness, your potential for healing or wholeness? And if the answer is no, then try to change that answer to not yet. You haven't noticed a shift just yet. But don't let the no, the part of your mental habit that may have a strong no, don't let that win out right now. Sometimes we've been in a certain amount of pain with a certain amount of blanketing that pain so we don't have to be tortured by it all day, that there's a dense kind of layer to work through, and it takes more than a few minutes of yoga to do that. These are simple, subtle practices we're beginning with. Doesn't mean we have to be more dynamic or more intermediate or advanced. It just means that these ones are subtle, so you may not notice it just yet. Okay, please come up to standing. You can occupy that spot there. Take a stance a little bit wider than your cat, or as wide as a standard yoga mat. If you are a little bit more limited in your hamstrings, this is a good time to get some blocks from your shelf or to bring them onto your yoga mat. Okay, energize your legs, press into all 10 toes. Pace the inhale. Counting. So we are moving slowly. Your narrative mind is on assignment right now, and its job is to count. Come down to Uttanasana. Inhale, rise up. Exhale, arms wide, return to the beginning. Finishing at the bottom of that exhale. Little pause, then inhale. Pace your breath so that it's really harmonious with you. It need not kind of impersonate mine or match mine. Smoothly inhale to rise at your body's pace. On this exhale, bend your knees and come down into chair pose. We do have a wider stance. It's as wide as the mat. Inhale, rise up from chair pose. Exhale. Notice if you're able to keep the pace pretty consistent. Inhale, rise up. Exhale, chair pose. Find the strength in your legs, your spine, your arms. Inhale, rise up. And exhale, come down and forward. Last one. Inhale, rise up. Last time. And exhale, pace yourself. As you come to the end of the exhale, it'll be equal to the length of your previous inhale. Pause and notice if there's a little glimmer, and if there is a glimmer, I'm going to ask you to relax the breath, but imagine that glimmer of goodness or remembrance being a little bit brighter, a little more spacious. Now we're going to add additional decorations to that sequence. So start with your knees bent. like a standing version of chair pose. And I know we have the feet wider than is customary for most of you. Okay, root the tailbone down, and then inhale, keep the legs bent. And exhale, sit more deeply back and down into chair pose. Bring the left arm down to the inside of your left shin. Inhale, twist to your right. Exhale, return to chair pose, keeping the hips deep. Raise your arms. Inhale, lower the right arm down. Twist to your left. Raise your wingtip to the sky. Exhale, return. Sweep both arms up. Inhale, rise up. Exhale, Uttanasana. Energize your legs, including your inner thighs, outer hips, hamstrings, quadriceps. Inhale, rise up. Exhale, bend your knees, come down into your chair pose. Same length for the exhale. Drop the left arm, inhale, right. Exhale, chair pose. Drop the right arm, inhale, left. Exhale, chair pose. Inhale, rise up. Exhale, mountain pose. Step the feet into hip distance. Come to mountain pose. Relax the arms. Drop the breath and the practice. As you relax here, again, listen for any glimpse. Glimpsing that indwelling capacity you have for a loving attitude towards yourself. And take a wide stance. So the effort to keep coordinating the length of the breath is like mental yoga, right? You're aware of that. That's called concentration or dhyana. It means concentration, consistent concentration transforms the mind because it's transforming the brain. Modern science knows that it's transforming the brain. Ancient yogis said this concentration is what leads to meditation or dharana. Preceding meditation, preceding concentration is an awareness of our senses. That's called pratyahara. Preceding that is pranayama. And so this pranayama that we're adding into the asana, which precedes pranayama in the 8 limbs of yoga, it is yamas, the relationship we have with our community and the world at large, niyamas, the ethical relationship we have with ourselves, and then asana, pranayama, pratyahara, dhyana, dharana, samadhi. So beginning with these ethical relationships that we cultivate, we then have asana. We add pranayama to that. In this case, we're pairing those things together. The senses are more localized, more inward. That takes us to concentration and then to meditation and then to freedom or recognition of that which we are. So in this wider stance, we're going to continue pacing the breath. You may need some blocks on the floor to help you here with the forward bending part. And there's going to be a couple of unusual things that we'll do. So follow and do your best. You might be improvising a whole routine of your own. As you make it up, please have my permission. And so inhale. And then exhale, prasarita padottanasana. So this is symmetrical. Inhale, rise up. Good. Exhale, bend your right knee. Come down on this side. Inhale, rise up to center, straighten the right leg. Exhale, left side. Inhale, rise up. Root into your left heel to rise with your strength. Exhale, go right. Inhale, rise up. Exhale, left. Inhale, rise. We're going to add to the sequence this time. Exhale, right. Go ahead and use 2 straight arms on this one. Come down with the hips. Inhale, twist right. Exhale, level the arms like an airplane or the tips of the wings of the bird. Inhale, rise up. Exhale, come down left. Inhale, twist left. Exhale, level off your wings. Feel into your wingspan. Inhale to rise. Exhale, lower the arms. Pause a moment. Appreciate your efforts. We're going to add to the sequence again. So let's check that you're in a distance right now where you can comfortably, you spread out like a starfish, and that you could step, even if it's 2 steps, like think, 2 steps, or 1 big step. Might be several small steps to come back. So Ujjayi breathing, which is what we're using, and also pacing the inhale and exhale is going to create an overall internal tone using your core muscles, the actual core, pelvic floor, diaphragm, transverse abdominis, multifidi muscles. And that's going to add to your stability to make these movements. So don't give up on the breath here. Okay, inhale. Exhale down to the right. Straighten the left arm. Inhale, twist right. Exhale, level off. Inhale, rise and stand in your left leg. Exhale, step back out. Inhale, arms up. Imagine what you're reaching for, right? This isn't just mechanically moving the body around. Exhale, come down to your left, watching out for your cat. Inhale, twist left. Raise your wingtip to the sky. Exhale, level off in your flight pattern. Inhale, rise to your right. Exhale, step back, arms wide, back to the starting position. Let's repeat that. Inhale. Glide right. Inhale, twist right. Exhale, level. Drop the hips back. Inhale, rise. Exhale, step. One more. Inhale, rise. Don't give up on the pacing of the breath. Exhale, glide down to your left, hips back. Feel the strength in your left hip. Inhale, twist left. Exhale, level. Inhale, rise. And exhale, step. Heel, toe, center. Okay, and relax the arms, relax the breath. Let your mind go deeper than the feeling of the breath, the temperature, or the heartbeat. All that is happening, and it represents your body intelligence. But go deeper than that, imagining that you're reconnecting to the source of that intelligence, which is not only your body intelligence, but it's the intelligence of the hellebores, the daffodils, and the woodpecker who enjoys my chimney. Okay, now standing firmly on your right leg, pick up your left knee. And come into Vrikshasana, tree pose. Now you can place your left foot anywhere you want to. Mine is on the upper inner right thigh, but you could place it up and down the length of your leg. We don't recommend putting pressure directly on your knee, of course, but tone your outer right hip here. Strengthen your standing leg. As you tone the right outer hip, in fact, lengthen your left thigh. So it feels like there is a connection there. So we want to feel that sense of like telescoping the left thigh out because the right outer hip is strong. And then inhale. And can you maintain the evenness of the breath? So your mind is still on assignment for counting. Take the arms out to the side, palms up, like you're spreading your branches. And then exhale, step down. Change sides. Firm the left leg, left foot, left calf, left thigh, left outer hip. Place your right foot. Could even be in a little kickstand position down low against your ankle. Firm the left outer hip and lengthen through your right thigh towards the knee. As you're pacing the breath right now and counting it, it's pretty demanding. You're in a one-leg balance pose and it might not be your easiest pose. But the concentration that you're building right now is going to be the concentration that lets you stay the course during the day of, heading outdoors for a walk rather than into the pantry or into the liquor cabinet or onto your phone for more games. Whatever it might be that you're trying to make a new pathway, the ability to concentrate in a yoga pose when things are challenging is a part of building that pathway. Take the arms wide. Imagine yourself being successful, right? Feel the possibility. You don't have to succumb to craving every time. And even if your pose wobbles, you don't succumb into criticism, but you stay with inhale equal to exhale. And exhale, step down. And by the way, don't let an attitude of perfectionism or dogma come in either. That won't be helpful. So come to your stance in mountain pose. Relax the breath. We're not counting it right now. This is where we drop back, we reflect, and we ask, can I see that inner self? And can you welcome that? I'm going to recommend that you welcome it wholeheartedly. You're not necessarily accustomed to it, perhaps, or it may feel a little unusual, but welcoming that is a gift from life to you. When you recognize it, it is a gift back from you to life itself. Now let's take 2 blocks from the shelf if you haven't yet picked them up for today. And I'd like you to put them on your yoga mat. We're going to be using them for a little bit of back bending. I think it's often helpful to have some chest and heart opening when you're looking at the courage that we need to persevere. So for example, if persevering in some of that movement, it's not about the physical practice so much today as it is about, can you still maintain your connection to the breath and the pacing? If you had to increase your perseverance or your concentration during that time, that is building those 2 life skills for life off the mat. The word for perseverance is kshama, K-S-A-M-A, actually also means earth. It also means forbearance, to be able to persevere when things are difficult. And the word for concentration is, again, dhyana. Excuse me. The word for concentration is dharana, and the word for meditation is dhyana. Excuse me. If I said that in reverse earlier, I accept your forgiveness of me. Okay, let's take this 1 block on the tall setting like so. The other block is nearby. Sit in front of block number 1, facing away from it. And then you're going to position yourself so that when you lean back over this block, it is between your 2 shoulder blades. So right there, the block is at the bottom 2 corners of my shoulder blades. Now, if you have a squishy block and not a firm block, that can become problematic because sometimes they squish and then you fall over. If you have a really firm block, if you have one of those old wooden blocks we used to use in our Iyengar yoga days with the hard corners, if that's the block you have, put a blanket on it, fold your mat over it, pad it in some way, wear a sweatshirt, get your fleece jacket on, whatever you need, so you're not bruising yourself on your back. I think the best blocks on the market right now are the cork ones because they come from a renewable source, but we happen to have all these from the studio, so I have 2 here. So you're leaning back on this. Hold your head, please. And as you lean back a little ways, bring your elbows up towards your nose or towards the ceiling. Now the block, if you have the kind that I have, has a little bit of a beveled edge. And that means that you're tipping over the angle of the block. Okay. Let the breath become more natural, a little deeper into the lower belly. Exhale and notice the tone of the lower belly. So the exhale still goes from the pubic bone in towards the low hollow of the abdomen, up towards the navel, the solar plexus. We are going to hold the head because most of you don't have the neck flexibility to let go of your head here. So let's hold the head with only the left hand for the moment and stretch your right arm overhead like you're aiming an arrow. Notice if you can pace the breath, inhale and exhale. 1 more in-breath. And then exhale, place your right hand to hold your head. You might put your right hand all the way across to the side of your neck so your forearm is holding your head with you. Stretch the left arm overhead. And then exhale, hold your head with both hands, curl up. And as you come up nearly to a sit-up, then reach your arms forward, legs forward, rise up to Dandasana. Okay, notice that you have like a, shall I say, like a tattoo on your upper back where the edge of the blanket was, edge of the block was. Why do we have 2 blocks? You are about to find out. So now let's take a blanket to sit on. And the block is going to stay on the tall setting right there. You've got your second block within reach of your hand. Go ahead and lean back. Now, when you're taller, you're going to have to place the block. So you're taller because you're sitting on a blanket. So place the block just a little bit lower than it was a moment ago. It's right below the 2 corners of the shoulder blades. Take the second block. Place it on the tall setting. Now the head is supported and your arms are free. So we warmed up your upper back for back bending where the block was. That was down near the inner corners of the scapula. So down near the lower trapezius muscles, for example. Now the block is a tiny bit lower than that, like one vertebrae lower. With the hips elevated, you're going to have greater flexibility. You're just going to feel more limber because you've changed the curve. So reach both arms overhead. You can put the palms together like an arrow, cross your thumbs over. And then notice the fullness of the inhale that you can create. Take it slow and steady. This is a full inhalation opportunity and a complete exhale opportunity as well. During the inhalation, I'm going to ask you to imagine a strong sense of inner worthiness, the fullness of your worthiness. It's not conditional. It's not in question. But the fullness of your worthiness, of your potential. And during the exhale, connect again to that inner sense of stability and strength so that you'll have the forbearance, the perseverance when needed. That is called kshama in Sanskrit. As you next exhale, take the arms out into a T shape. Stretch the shoulders, the chest, and the heart. We want the head to feel really comfortable on this block. So if it's a little bit short for you because your thoracic spine might need a little more flexibility, then you can put a blanket on your block under your head. Or add a second block if you have another one, which would be a third block for your setup. Okay, and then exhale, put your hands on your head, curl your chin towards your throat, reach your arms forward, reach the legs forward, come to Dandasana. And rest the hands alongside your hips, so Dandasana as a formal pose. Danda means staff. It is the staff that the yogi is walking with. It's the staff that the Swami is carrying alongside when he's walking like that. So this is the danda, the staff pose, Dandasana. Now take a seat up on your blanket. Step your right knee in, take the left leg out. Wrap your left hand around your right shin. Lift up with your spine. Take one block for your hand. You see, I just knocked that one out of circulation there. So one block for the hand can be nice because it's going to help keep your spine upright. If you have long arms, go ahead and touch the floor if that's comfortable for you. A little bit less sturdy for me, so I do like to incorporate the block sometimes. You can do either one. Okay, we're going to twist to the right. Now we have again put an intentional restriction on the body. So start inhaling purposely. Can you resume the fullness of the inhale you had earlier in spite of the little bit of constriction or restriction you're facing right now? And can you support the stability of the exhale just like before? Balance your inhale with your exhale. And then exhale, come around to face forward. Let's change the legs. Left leg in, right leg out. Walk the right hand around your left shin, raise up with your heart. If you're using a block, place it where you need to for your left hand. And so without interruption, with consistency and duration, they say in the Yoga Sutras, without interruption, with consistency and duration, Lengthen the inhale and the exhale to be equal to each other. And then exhale, come around to face forward. Okay, now we're going to do pose that you have been preparing for. Let's put the blanket aside, put the 2 blocks aside. Okay. So you have the components of this pose put together. I need to discuss it with you. This is like, there's like a huddle on the field hockey field when we're going to get our strategy renewed. I was a field hockey player in high school. I was the center link on the field hockey team. That meant that I ran a lot. I was like everywhere, offense, defense, left and right, running. So I liked the huddle. So we're going to huddle for a moment. I also had my first concussion playing field hockey because my teammate was scrimmaging and her shoulder broke my nose and whoosh, down I went. I had surgery on my face the day before Halloween. So in the 10th grade, my Halloween costume was a mask of my cast on my face. And they put the cast, they put the tape, you know, it was enough of a costume. Anyway, we're going to do this pose right now called Purvottanasana, also called Ekahasta Purvottanasana, because we'll do both of them. And this is a pose where you have to reach up into your strength. It's like reaching, which is one of the very important reflexes in the ventral vagal nervous system, the reach reflex. We can reach when we're children, we reach up for help, pick me up. We can reach for other people. We can reach out to others also. We can extend ourselves to others. This is very different. This reach is not the same as foraging for the things that are going to help us not feel pain, right? It's like foraging for food or, you know, rummaging in the pantry and stuff like that. This is not the same reflex. That's called foraging. This is called reaching. So as we do the pose, I want you to really be thoughtful that the shoulder rotates open. So that this position is called external rotation of the arm. If you're in internal rotation for the Ekahasta Purvottanasana, it's going to feel very demanding on your shoulder and potentially less stable. The thing about external rotation is that it's not as stable as internal, and most of us tend to default to that when we need to. So I want you to stabilize this for the journey up, because if you're going up in internal rotation and you have to turn your shoulder to external, you need to be very skillful at doing that, which is why we're going to start with the hand position for the shoulder to be in external rotation. Now, some of you don't have enough external rotation just from sitting on the floor. So we're going to raise your hips to give you that boost. Okay, so let's take 2 blocks, like a little bench, like this, and sit up on the 2 blocks. So the pose called Purvottanasana is reverse table pose. And we do have the hands pointing towards the hips for that pose. We'll do it before we come down to Shavasana. This is Ekahasta, 1 Eka, Hasta, hand, Purvottanasana, one-handed reverse table pose. Okay, so you're going to place your hand behind you. And because we're on the blocks, you're going to have this advantage that you have a little bit more lift or suspension to roll your shoulder open. Okay, place your feet so they're wide like they were at the beginning of class. In some cases, people will want the feet as wide as the yoga mat for more stability. That's okay. I'm going to choose between the width of the mat and chair pose. Lift the heart, roll the collarbone open. Look down to your right and begin to raise your hips up. You're going to be weight bearing on the right shoulder right there. Roll it open so the collarbone and shoulder roll towards the middle finger. And then sweep the left arm up. This is called Ekahasta Purvottanasana. Sweep your left arm past your left ear. For those who have the flexibility, you stabilize on the right arm. Both shoulder blades are supporting the upper back. And if your neck is also flexible enough for it, you can lay your head back. And then exhale, look down to the right at the floor. Sweep your left arm in front of your face, stabilize your right shoulder, bring your hips thoughtfully down to the 2 blocks, and come upright. Okay, let's do the other side. I won't be seeing you because I'll be looking the other way, but you'll have a sense of where we're going. So take the left hand behind you. Line your fingers up so they're pointing towards the back edge of your mat. Roll the left shoulder open. Bring the shoulder blades in to the upper back. So your upper back, your thoracic spine is already prepared. Press into both feet. Raise your hips a smidge. Rotate the left shoulder open. Raise your right arm. Sweep your arm past your ear. And keeping both hips lifted and both legs strong, roll the left shoulder open. For anyone who has the experience and the flexibility, and your neck would be happy about it, you can look overhead at your right thumb. And then exhale, bring your right arm across your face, look down at the floor near your left side. Lower your hips down, keep the left shoulder stable, and rise up to your seat. Take the elbows out over the knees. Okay, so it's a pose of reaching. It's called Ekahasta Purvottanasana. Let's try it again. And because it's easier on the 2 blocks, you can keep them. But if you find that you'd like to explore your strength, and if you have the accuracy of the movement of the shoulders, then try it from the floor. In this case, we bring the left arm between the shins. We start with that twist that we had in chair pose. Remember how we did that before? And then you're going to lift your hips. You may look overhead. Breathe into the reaching reflex. And then exhale, bring your left arm across your face. Keep the right shoulder stable as you lower down. Place the left arm again inside the knee. Twist. Other side. So if you're doing it from the floor, this becomes more important. If you're doing it from the 2 blocks, you can do it as well, but this is more important from the floor because of the dynamics of the shoulder. So press your right elbow against your right knee, twist your spine to your left to get started. That means that your upper left chest is already turned left. The left collarbone and shoulder will have an easier time opening. And then inhale, raise your hips. Press into your heels, whether you're on the floor or on blocks for your start. As you reach, if the chest is open enough, your neck is comfortable with it, you can take your gaze overhead. And then exhale, bring your right arm across your face, look down, stabilize your left shoulder. Right arm to the inside of the right knee, twist left. And then unwind. If you're sitting on blocks, now is a good time to come down to the floor. Take the arms out over the knees. Okay, let's come to Dandasana. Something people find frustrating about Purvottanasana is what to do with the feet. And so when we do it, we're going to go from Dandasana to Purvottanasana, and the feet go from up like this to flat, but not everyone's feet do that. Not everyone's feet do that. I guess, feet is a plural, but I said do, and it seems like the right word. I say not everyone's feet does that. Not everyone's, well, anyway, you can give me grammar lessons later. But anyway, if your feet don't make it all the way down like that, bend your knees to get the feet down instead. So fingertips are going to point towards your hips this time. Roll the shoulders back, bring your knuckles down, then the heels of the hands come down. So if you lift the heart and you're not too far away, this is the other thing, you can't have your hands too far back for this to be successful. You have to be pretty close with your hips to your hands, like that. So if you've already got the heart up, look forward to start, then inhale, raise your hips, touch the toes down, then look overhead. I'm looking at Kathmandu, Varanasi, and Tiruvannamalai. And then exhale, lower your hips down, raise your heart, collarbones, your head. And from there, roll down. Slowly, 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 roll down. Take the arms out to the side. Float your knees up to your chest, hands behind the hamstrings. You can rock a little bit, side to side. That was your reaching reflex. Now, of course, we have this reflex for dorsal vagal. That's why we go there. It's a reflex already built into the body. And it signifies that we have the highest need for safety. We feel the most threatened. But we can repurpose that feeling of going inward. In yoga, we do that by having shavasana and meditation. So we're temporarily removing ourselves from the fray of life to go inward. And we don't need to dorsal vagal to get that time out. So let's touch the feet down. Stretch the legs out. And to support that dorsal vagal region of the body, which is down low, think of it as in the gut, right? This is your dorsal vagal region. Let's take a blanket, or gosh, if I had my sandbag, he's asleep over there. He's great to have on the belly, by the way. But an actual sandbag, you don't put that right on the belly. You put it on the hip bones here, or you can also put the sandbag on the bones of the chest, on the sternum. But today we can put this blanket, like I like to say, you're like a sushi. This is your seaweed wrap. I'm entertaining myself, I'm sure. It's not entertaining to you, but it is to me. It's like your sushi moment there. And then take the arms out to the side. You could also call this a cummerbund, I guess. Your cummerbund. Close your eyes. And now as you come to the breath, I'm going to ask you to exhale 2 or 3 paces longer than your inhale. So if your inhale is 6, your exhale is 8 or 10. And this is a way to now tell your body you're going to be going down into Shavasana. So let's try that for 4 breath cycles. When you're aiming to lengthen your exhale, focus on the first part of your exhale, not the end of the exhale. Don't pressure the end of the exhale. It'll make you feel breathless. And then relax the breath. And please come into Shavasana. Release every effort from the practice. This is when we surrender. Ishvari Pranidhana means surrender. As you release the efforts, know that the concentration skills you built are still within you. The perseverance that you touched into is still with you. Your determination is still there. But now we practice surrendering, deeply relaxing for the purpose of restoration. As you release, allow your body to get heavier with ease, heavier with relaxation. You may notice that your fingers and toes experience greater fullness as the circulation reaches the entirety of your body. Allow the restoration to continue going deeply without any interference from your thinking mind. Welcome yourself to drop in more deeply. If your hands get heavier, as the feet get more full with circulation, now acknowledge the place you've dropped into. And then raise your hands up to touch the heart or the abdomen. And know that you are worthy of this homecoming, this reunion. We have not made anything new for you. We are remembering that which is already so. So please bend your knees. Roll to your side. Find your seat. Practice sitting in the remembrance, the smriti. I'd like you to make a solid memory of this to be within you. So as you notice this felt sense, simply use your imagination for this felt sense to be deeply rooted, embedded. Invite this felt sense to be pervasive. It encompasses the entirety of your body. Invite this felt sense to be lucid or radiant without any effort, just because it has its own natural lucidity. And then see if any remembrance phrase comes for you, like a little personal mantra. One of Ram Dass's mantras was, "Be here now." Other mantras you may have heard, like, "Love is all there is," or "I am that I am, so hum saha." But listen for what comes for you today from your inner poet. Often in my own journey of recovery, the mantra was a loving voice that would just say, "It's going to be okay," or "You're going to make it." Those were very common for me. In this state, those came often. My co-teacher has come back too. I'll say for you, it's going to be okay and you're going to make it. Please raise your hands to your heart. Thank you very much for sharing your practice. Namaste. Thank you for joining me for this practice. I hope that your journey with your body during class has been one that you could feel respectful towards and affectionate about. You gave yourself some blessings and some appreciation for being here, for making the effort to be here. As always, leave your questions and comments down below the video. If I can help you with your recovery journey, I will be delighted to do so. It is what I specialize in hunger, hope, and healing, and I've seen the full spectrum of ways in which people have done their food relationship, their exercise relationship, and there's so many variations, and yet there are common root causes in these dilemmas. And one of the most common of those root causes is an internalized sense of shame and unworthiness. So if you're not sure how that works, if you don't know why that's influencing you so deeply, if you don't feel like you have any sense of shame or unworthiness, let me know, because I'd like to help you explore what that is so that you can overcome it. Because if it's hidden to you, it's hard to know how to overcome it, right? And so there are many ways in which we find ourselves in hunger, hope, and healing. I'm glad you found your way to be here. And if I can help you, please do let me know. Check out the website here, and you can learn more about the program at that website. Thank you, and see you next time.